Deloitte is a well-known company with a shiny logo and offices in skyscrapers all over the world. They were hired by the Australian government to write a big, important report about welfare compliance systems. It was the kind of work that needed to be careful, accurate, and trustworthy. To get the job done faster, they disclosed that parts of the report were drafted using artificial intelligence tools. The promise, of course, was efficiency. But when the final report was published, it was a mess. It was full of serious mistakes, not just small typos or grammatical errors, but completely made-up information. The AI had fabricated quotes and citations. It looked like a report on the surface, but when you looked closely, parts of it were pure fiction. The company was deeply embarrassed. They acknowledged the errors and provided a partial refund. When questions arose about what went wrong, the focus inevitably turned to implementation and oversight, what I think of as the human error narrative. And that's the part that stuck with me long after I closed the article, this framing of human error. Because it feels like this isn't just a story about one company and one broken report. It's a story about a deep and quiet pressure that many of us feel now. The pressure to be faster. The pressure to keep up with machines. I see this pressure every day in my own workplace. I work at a leading tech company where people are incredibly patient and work really hard. We've been through layoffs, but when possible, leadership genuinely tried to do right by people, helping them find new roles within the organization rather than just cutting them loose. I mention this because I work for some of the most considerate, decent leadership I've ever encountered, and yet I can see them almost panicking now. They all keep repeating, everyone has to learn how to use AI, we all have to go faster. They say things like, what took a year will take minutes, but I know from experience, that's not the case. Here's what I've learned from using a variety of AI constantly over the past few years, both at work and for my own creative projects. It doesn't make you faster in the way leadership thinks it will. At least, not the kind of faster that actually matters. Sure, it can generate text quickly, but then you spend hours fact-checking, rewriting, and fixing the things it got wrong. It can help you brainstorm, but it can't think for you. It can draft, but it can't judge whether what it drafted is any good. The promise of efficiency often becomes a troubleshooting and cleanup project to get the results you want. Just yesterday, I experienced this firsthand with our corporate AI system, one that's specifically trained on our company's information and that should understand all of our business services and products. Out of nowhere, it started misspelling one of our product names, making a letter in the middle uppercase when it should have been lowercase. When I asked it directly, how do you spell this product name? It confidently told me that only the first letter should be uppercase and the rest should be lowercase. Then it proceeded to show me the word again with that same middle letter capitalized. I scrolled back through our conversation to check if I had accidentally mistyped the product name and confused the system, but I hadn't. My original query had the correct spelling. So I tried one more time. Are you sure this is how the letter should be cased in the product name? It replied, yes, it should be lowercase, and then immediately displayed the word with the uppercase letter again. If it can make this kind of small but significant branding error with so much confidence that it's doing the right thing, imagine what it could slip past you when you don't immediately know that something is wrong. It could tell you that a completely fabricated statistic is accurate, or that a made-up regulation exists, and you might never think to question it, because why would you doubt something that sounds so certain? I suspect the reason leadership doesn't understand this is because many of them aren't actually using these tools themselves. Not in the deep, daily way you need to understand both their capabilities and their limitations. They're making decisions about speed and efficiency based on demos and promises, not on the messy reality of trying to get useful work done with a machine that's very confident about things that aren't true. It's as if we've all been given a magic oven, This oven is a marvel. It can cook anything in 10 seconds. You can put in the ingredients for a complex 7-layer cake that would normally take a chef hours to prepare, and in just 10 seconds, a finished cake slides out. The promise is incredible. Think of all the time we'll save. Think of how many more cakes we can bake for how many more people. So a big, famous restaurant buys one of these magic ovens. It's expensive, so to justify the cost and to make even more money, the owner decides to make a few changes. He lets go of the experienced pastry chefs, the ones who knew how to check the freshness of the eggs, who could tell by the smell if the vanilla was good, who understood the delicate chemistry of baking. They were too slow. Instead, he hires a few people and tells them their only job is to shovel ingredients into the oven as fast as possible. Their performance is measured by one thing: the number of cakes that come out per hour. At first, things seem amazing. The restaurant is churning out hundreds of cakes a day. But soon customers start to complain. The cakes start coming out wrong. They look perfect on the outside, with smooth icing and beautiful decorations, but when you cut into them, they're hollow inside, or they're dense and tasteless, like cardboard. Some are even made with salt instead of sugar, completely inedible. When the angry customers come to the owner, he holds up his hands and says, "It was human error. The person putting in the ingredients must have messed up." But was that the real problem? The oven wasn't the problem. The person operating it wasn't even the real problem. The real problem was that the restaurant had slowly, quietly forgotten its purpose. It was no longer in the business of making good food. It was in the business of being fast. It had started to value speed more than care, and quantity more than quality. We are all being handed these magic ovens, in one form or another. These new tools, especially these powerful AI systems, promise to make us faster, more efficient, more productive. And that pressure to move at the speed of the machine is everywhere. It's in the work chat message we feel we have to answer in 2 minutes, or people will think we're not working. It's in the endless scroll of news and updates we feel we have to keep up with just to stay informed. It's in the unsettling idea that if we aren't producing something, an email, a report, a social media post every single second, then we are falling behind. And in that constant rush, we can forget to be thoughtful. We can forget to do the slow work of double-checking, of pausing to ask, does this feel right? We can forget that the goal isn't just to be finished, but to do something well, to create something of value. A student might use a tool to write an essay in 20 minutes, and they get it done. But they miss the slow, messy process of thinking, of wrestling with an idea, of finding their own words. That's where the real learning happens. We might get the grade, but we miss the education. This isn't a story about whether AI is good or bad. The tool itself is not the point. It's a story about what we choose to value and what we might be losing without even noticing. Because trust is a slow thing. It's built in moments of care and attention to detail. Trust is what a mechanic builds when she doesn't just plug your car into a computer, but takes the time to actually listen to the strange noise it's making. Trust is what a doctor builds when he sits down and looks you in the eye and asks follow-up questions, showing he's not just trying to get to his next appointment. Trust is built when we are careful, when we admit we don't know something and go look it up, when we take the time to get it right. Trust is the human part. Speed is the machine part. And these new tools are very, very fast. They don't get tired. They don't need to pause and reflect. They don't need to build relationships. They can produce 1,000 pages of text in the time it takes us to write a single, thoughtful sentence. And if we let the pace of the machine become our own pace, we risk creating a world full of things that look right on the outside, but are hollow on the inside. We risk becoming operators of magic ovens, churning out empty cakes, and breaking the slow, fragile, and deeply human thing we call trust. Perhaps the real human error isn't a person making a mistake because they're tired or distracted. Perhaps the real error is when we design our companies, our schools, and our lives in a way that doesn't leave any time for people to be human at all. I'm Luma from This Online Life. Thanks for listening.